very warm welcome to you. How are you doing? Ramon Abbas, popularly known as Hushpuppi, who spent most of his time on Instagram showcasing wealth. He has been on the news for quite some time now, and all of a sudden, everything went off. It seems as if people forgot about him, but he is back. He's really back on the news right now. He's 37-year-old and he was arrested in Dubai in June 2020 and subsequently extradited to the United States, where he has been facing charges of corruption in Central California. And when I use the word corruption, I'm not using it like he's a government, but let's say fraud in Central California. He has pleaded guilty to multi-million dollar fraud charges as part of a plea bargain he entered with the United States authorities. Court documents seen by investigative journalists. The 37-year-old was arrested in Dubai, like I told you initially, and he was taken over to the United States. Court documents said Abbas admitted to laundering money and also orchestrated fraudulent attacks on Premier League club, an American law firm, a United Kingdom law firm, and other schemes, as well as carefully recruiting North Korean state-sponsored hackers to collaborate his fraudulent schemes. A lot of people applauded Hushpuppi back in those days, thinking that he was the brain behind many of these things. But what you need to understand is that to get all of these things done and to get this huge amount of money, you need someone who can actually help you create websites, clone websites. That is one. Someone who can actually hack websites and many other tech jobs that are not just things that you can just jump into. So he gets them to do these jobs for him. And not just that alone, he was also involved in money laundering. We saw some politicians with him, and there are still some that are in Nigeria who he helped launder money. It is still the same corruption and fraud. He had the link, he had the way to get money out of Nigeria for them. The fraud was part of a business email compromise scheme that targeted several businesses across the world. From Europe, you get down to America, Canada, just anywhere. They get the connections or the hint, with many of the victims being from the United States anyway. The Instagram celebrity exhibited his luxurious designer lifestyle on social media, claiming to be a real estate developer. That is just what it is. They often come up with a front. Hushpuppi, lifestyle and whatever it is that he does already, when you look at him as a Nigerian, you automatically know that fraud is written all over him. The way he speaks, if you are into real estate, and you must have been cultured somehow, the manner at which Hushpuppi speaks and the way he behaves, and he calls himself social media influencer and all of those things. Like he's advertising for Gucci, advertising for Versace and the rest of them. And I don't think any of those companies are paying him anyway. It might belong to probably their bronze, gold, silver, whatever, based on the amount of money he spends with them. But what I've come to realize in life is that we want to put on quality clothes, shoes, and appear expensive. But the richer you are, and you already have a name for yourself, you don't need to put on designers to advertise yourself or to call attention to yourself. So that is the mistake of many of them. I'm not saying mistake because, he frauded people and there's a way to keep it. As you know, they say every day for the thief, one day for the owner. Now, when I came up with this story analysis back then, I saw comments, which is encouraged. It's good to express yourself. They said, well, it is nemesis that is being played back. There is what they call law of karma. Many of these countries and, basically Caucasian countries where this money is being taken off from, many of them, in fact, 99.9% of them got all this wealth. Backbone of all this wealth is also from crime. So it's like a ripple effect. They invade India, invade just anywhere they can invade Africa. Still love you still love human beings, and still love, they stole just everything, everything. They stole off everything. You know, if you could remember United Kingdom, I think about 2-3 years ago or thereabout, if I'm correct, and they decided to send back the Windrush generation. Windrush generation, for those living in the United Kingdom, you understand what I'm saying. But for those who do not understand what I'm saying, the Windrush generation were brought in by the British government, the crown, the queen. They brought in these Africans that were enslaved, and their great grandchildren were put off and kept in islands in the Caribbean like Haiti, Jamaica, many of those places. When they needed to build United Kingdom, they invited them in and said, oh, you are subject to the crown and all of that. It's still a form of slavery anyway, but because life is so difficult and hard for those people over there, where they are, they've not been able to get themselves right. Things are just not all right, like how things are not okay in Africa till date as a result of the corruption, innate evil, this evil in many of these African leaders and rulers, and also the backhand flip of these European countries and trying to manipulate who should be in government. At least they need someone who is going to favor what it is that they want. So what I'm saying in essence is that this Windrush generation, all of a sudden, they wanted to kick them out because they don't need them anymore. And the great grandchildren of this Windrush generation, some of them they are in parliament and they've occupied political positions. They spoke on behalf of their great grandparents and said, no, enough is enough. This is rubbish. And I'll tell you the truth, many have been kicked out, many have been deported. We're talking about people who've been in the United Kingdom for many years, thinking we are British subjects, and some of them did not probably regularize themselves the way they should. They kicked them all off. I don't know if some got back and all of that, but probably there are still some people who are trying to get back, and it's difficult for them to get back. So what I'm trying to tell you in essence is that people come up with this and say, look, there is a point here. But what I know is this: there is something called karma. It's as simple as that. There is something called the law of karma. That's what it is. You cannot commit a crime. You cannot get involved. Atrocities that were committed in Africa, in India, many of these countries. And if you check countries that are into this, you will realize that Asia and Africa are into this. When you talk about the brain box behind this, look at this Asian country. They have hackers. That's not to tell you that you don't have Caucasians. I mean, Westerners who are involved in this. If you go to America, you'll find them there. They're also involved in it. But the people that you often see arrested are Asians, even in America, UK, and all of that. And in Africa, you see Africans arrested and all of that, like Hushpuppi now. He has been arrested and all of that. So it's like, to them, we are trying to get back what they stole from our ancestors. This is what it is. And I'll tell you the truth, I'm not in support of crime of any kind. There is no way, just same way as terrorism is, there is no way that cyber fraud is going to be put to an end. It doesn't matter how many Hushpuppis you arrest or whatever, cyber crime is not going anywhere. Like I said, from my own observation, I might be right, I might not be right, but from observation, it's like a ripple effect, like karma turning around back. They are defrauding the great grandchildren. I mean, what their ancestors have done and what they are even doing till now. We have new colonization. We have many things. We saw a lot of terrible things that happened in the Middle East and all of those things. We saw email of Hillary Clinton and all of those things that were busted out and nothing happened. They invaded places, cooked up stories to destroy countries and all of that. These things will always have, there's always going to be consequences of these things. That's how nature works. Consequences. You just don't do things and say, all right, that's it. Either you face the consequences of it, your children, great-grandchildren. This is how it is. That's why it's very important that we all be careful. So they said that Hushpuppi reportedly stole about $40 million from a United States law firm. And don't forget that $40 million is not all in his pocket. So before you start praising him and thinking like, oh, I should get into this. No, that $40 million, there are a lot of hands that are involved. If you get to know the number of people that are involved and how these things work, the network, you realize that Hushpuppi, when they divide this cash, it might not even be getting too much of it. It could be that the hacker will say, I need half of the money. 20 million goes to the hacker. Now, there are people who are going to provide accounts and provide all of those things. So they share the money around. It could be that Hushpuppi will get, of course, good sizable amount of money anyway. So they say he nearly conned an unnamed Premier League club of $124 million. He didn't get that. To avoid a lengthy trial, Abbas entered a plea deal with the United States prosecutor in Central California on July 4th, 2021, and it was sealed on July 27, 2021. As part of the deal, Hushpuppi, Abbas now faces up to 20 years in jail when he is due to be sentenced in the coming weeks. He will also pay about $1.7 million in restitution to some of his victims. That is because Hushpuppi still has some amount of money somewhere. Probably, definitely, he has been in this for a while. So he must have money littered here and there, and they expect him to return this money. And I think Hushpuppi will not give up all of the cash because he knows he has common sense. Of course, he's under pressure. He knows that once he comes out of this, imagine he's 37 years old now, 37 plus 20. When you come out, you're already 60 years old. You see, a 60-year-old man gone to jail in the US, known all over Nigeria and in Africa as a fraudster. What else? He doesn't have a job that he can own. Every other person around him will always be careful. They will believe that he's going to defraud them. So Hushpuppi is coming out a very old man. That is if he's not killed in prison. That's the point. Abbas may also be made to forfeit between $9.5 million and $25 billion as part of the deal, according to the court. Several parts of the document were redacted to protect confidential excerpts of the plea arrangement, meaning some part of the document have been covered so as not to release information on it. Abbas has become the second Nigerian of public infamy to be sentenced by the United States over the past year. October last year, Obiwane Okeke, also known as Invictus Obiwane Okeke, Invictus Obi, was sentenced to jail after being found guilty of the same fraud. So, guys, that's just what it is. If you are into fraud at this age, you know what it is. If you are into fraud at this age, you are, let's say you are 20-year-old and you get into this and they catch you, you might end up getting 30 years sentence. And with that, that's 50. You come out at 50 years old. What else remains for you? Particularly if the kind of fraud you got involved, you didn't even get nothing much. Probably the only thing you got is $100,000. How much is that? Well, you know, you finished up and messed up yourself. And look at Hushpuppi. He's coming out when he's close to 60 years old. 60 years old. That's what it is. 60 years old. That's it. And I don't know what will become of him. Look at Invictus Obi too. Invictus Obi is even more polished than Hushpuppi. You know, he knows a lot of things than Hushpuppi, more refined than Hushpuppi. But as you know, that money that they get, the manner at which they get is cash, and since that's the backbone of what they do, even when they get this huge amount of money, they don't stop. That's another thing. That's the thing about criminal. You know, they since they spend their money in thousands and all of that, they don't see that millions as too huge anymore, because they want to drive a car that is worth $300,000. They want to compete with one person in one place. They want to always shine and all of that. That's what brings about problems. Not like they got into this and they were able to make their first, let's say they were able to make their first $10 million, which is somewhere in the range of 8-point-something million euros. With this, they are not going to stop. They will rather invest that money into huge and larger crime. You see, that's how they work. They will never, ever stop. They will never cut off all ties. And that's one thing about this. Imagine when Invictus Obi was caught. And you need to know that these guys that have gotten to that high level, they have a kind of connections with themselves. You'll be shocked that Invictus Obi knows Hushpuppi and they do one or two things together here and there, even if they've never visited each other, like publicly take pictures and all of this. So if Invictus Obi is caught, Invictus Obi begin to open the tap, like, yes, I had with this person, and of course, that is the purpose of the interrogation, to find out from you about other fraudsters like yourself. And with this, they will begin to watch that person, and gradually they gather information about that person, and connect the dots together. And before you know it, maybe 1 year, 6 months or thereabout, the other person is caught. When H0LĐ was caught, Hushpuppi knew. When the other guy was caught in Nigeria, Monfa, Hushpuppi came on his Instagram page talking. Some people would have thought it is me and all of that. That's when I knew that this guy is going down. Hushpuppi, I knew he was going to go down, because that was not a kind of sign to him like, man, I better get the hell out of Dubai, sell all of these cars, find a way to get myself into something else, reposition myself. But you know what it is? Such kind of money, pride is the next. It is not going to happen to me. Nothing is going to happen to me. But I believe they have someone who is a spiritualist, who is working for them. It gives them the confidence. They will never find you. They will never see you. Just bath with this water, bath with this soap, call this person, call that name, call that thing. And that is all what many of them believe in. And with this, they believe that nothing is going to happen to them. But unfortunately, something is going to happen to you. You know why? Because Caucasians don't mind to rip you off, mind to steal from you, but they don't want you to take from them.